Well, hello. I'm Dan Schinder,
And I'm Steven Schinder.
and you're watching Yesshift. Hopefully, that didn't get trimmed off the beginning. We are going live for the first time in a while. We got a technological upgrade, is the technical way to put the technicality of the technological upgrade. So, let us know how the stream is in the comments, and feel free to chime in on everything Steve and I talk about. We are a father, son, father podcast that covers everything Yes and some Yes extended family and some other Prog related periphery. This is episode number 75, focusing on Billy Sherwood.
76.
Oh, 76. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Focusing on, Billy Sherwood's The Big Piece. And we've got some other news as well. Steve, take it away. And I'll give you the intro music since I forgot to hit it. So here you go.
Right. So, yeah, it's been a little while since we sat down to do something like this because we've been on the road a couple of times. So it really feels like we've been on vacation from this for months, like to me.
It does
Anyways.
feel like that, yeah, because we didn't go live for a while. Then, like you said, we went on 2 road trips, one to San Francisco to cover Roger Dean and Freya Dean's exhibit. Steve's working on the documentary that we filmed for that. And then I helped Steve move from one city to another in Cali, and we did some stuff from there. So it's been a while since we've done this, let alone live.
Yeah. So it kind of feels like we're back after a hiatus, even though it's not really a hiatus. It hasn't really been long. But
Just a change of venue, if you will, and a way of doing it.
yeah. So one of the recent things, before we get into this album, one of the recent things that happened was Miguel Falcao put out the Play for Chris and Alan a tribute video over on his YouTube channel. And you, Dad, were part of that.
I was so honored to be part of that, and I was even more honored after I saw how it came out because there are some phenomenal musicians on that thing. And Steve and I are going to take a deep dive on that with you folks on December 8th, is it?
Yeah, we pretty much planned out the rest of the year and decided, there is some new stuff. We know there are like Cruise to the Edge announcements and other things, but we're gonna save like the news stuff for December 8th for a couple of different reasons, sort of like a news catch up thing. And yeah, we'll dive into that and it'll be great.
It will. There's some really neat stuff if you haven't seen it. Steve, maybe you even want to put the link in the comments later.
Yeah, I'm actually like looking for it right now.
And
Okay, yeah,
folks,
I
just
found
so
it.
you know, when you watch it and you see my part of it, I have to admit it was one of those what have I gotten myself into situations because I do that a lot actually. I think of something I want to play and it's streaming live on Drum Talk TV and it's something I haven't played in years and years, and so many of those things are so easy for me to just pull out of the memory bank. But this was a little bit different, as are some of those, and it was a lot of fun. So hopefully I don't look like an idiot compared to all the other great musicians that did some really fantastic stuff.
Right. And the timing of, well, moving on to the topic of this episode, the big piece, the timing of this is kind of perfect because we found out like just before going live that there's a Prog Collective album out today that like none
Yeah,
of
how did
us.
we not know this was happening?
Yeah, like I didn't see any news about this. I don't think anyone did, but
I
yeah,
don't remember Billy mentioning it in his interview with us.
well, that was back in May, so yeah, I don't know like
Still,
when
I would
this
think you
was.
would be planning it, you know?
Right. I mean, he was talking about a lot of things in that
Yeah.
episode, but yeah, what's funny is this new Prog Collective album is titled Seeking Peace. So it kind of neatly
There's some weird
ties.
overlap there, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit toward the end, but yeah, onto the big piece, Billy's 1999 solo album. So should we do personnel first or
Yeah.
context first?
Let's do personnel, then context of what was going on when this album came out. I love when you put those things together, Steve, because it really does give it context. But personnel, go for it. I think Billy's on it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be weird if he wasn't, but yeah, Billy Sherwood is on this. He does vocals, guitars, bass, keyboards, and percussion. And we also have some other guy named Jay Shellen doing drums throughout the whole thing. Um, yeah, we interviewed him recently. People go check that out.
Yeah.
Bruce Gowdy on additional keyboards on track 6, titled Call, and Jimmy Hahn on additional guitar on track 4, Walking with the Rain.
So if you're familiar with World Trade and wondering, like, why wasn't this just a World Trade album? Tell them, Steve.
Yeah, so this was being worked on. It was originally intended to be the third World Trade album, but I think Bruce and Jimmy were like really busy, so they eventually got these like guest moments, but Billy and Jay worked consistently. The second World Trade album, the most recent one that had come out in 1995, was Euphoria, and so the big piece was gonna be the third one. And after a couple of years working on the album, Billy talked to some record companies, and it was suggested to him that he release it as a solo album. And, he talked with Jay about it, and Jay was like, yeah, he was cool with the idea. So it essentially became a Billy Sherwood solo album with World Trade members popping in and whatnot. Yeah, and given that it took him a couple years to work on this, I think they're...
Wait, can I back up a sec?
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's weird, but at the same time, we've seen Steve Howe include Alan White and Bill Bruford and Pat Mraz. We've seen Chris Squire include Pat Mraz and Bill Bruford. We've seen Rick Wakeman include Alan White. So it's not a first, really, now the more I think about it.
Right, and I have more thoughts on the whole World Trade thing, which I'll get into later, but okay. Yeah, given the amount of recording time, I suspect that recording wise there might have been like some chronological overlap with the Keys to Ascension stuff and with Open Your Eyes, so we might be stretching the definition a bit, but like Billy had worked with Yes members prior to working on this and while working on this, I suppose. Yeah, lots of stuff going on, just such a busy guy.
So we're so out of practice doing this that I forgot to show the Prog Collective album cover while you were talking about it.
Oh, and well, I thought we were going to do that at the end.
We can do that. We can do that because the cover's phenomenal. It's awesome. So, okay, good. We'll bring that back. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So
discombobulated.
Yeah, the big piece came out April 13th, 1999. So just a few months before the latter came out in September. Other things going on in Prague at that time, things were kind of different. Porcupine Tree released Stupid Dream in March. Jethro Tull released jtull.com in August.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Marillion released Marillion.com in November.
What's up with that?
Yeah, like that feels like such a turn of the millennium thing. What was with these bands like releasing these .coms?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Well, like imagine if Yes, like instead of the latter, they titled it YesWorld.com.
Funny.
That would have been weird. And outside of prog rock, Def Leppard released Euphoria, not to be confused with the World Trade album with the same name, in June.
Exactly.
And then some of these like more modern bands at the time, which are really popular, Blink-182 released Enema of the State in June. Nine Inch Nails released The Fragile in September. That's a familiar sounding title. And Incubus released Make Yourself in October. So just looking at those...
Some great albums and a neat assortment of music, too.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at those last few bands I listed, this was a very different time. The last solo album in this series we talked about was Trevor Rabin's Can't Look Away, which came out 89. So jump ahead 10 years, and like the music scene is very different.
Very different. I would even consider Incubus progressive.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd consider them like progressive, eclectic metal, kind of like Haken, Yeah. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. You know who turned me on to Incubus? It might surprise you. Maybe.
my sister Sam.
Oh, you knew that. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Samantha. I guess you would know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she was the first person who told me about Incubus, so yeah.
Funny.
And so on the big piece, we have these 8 tracks: Lesson to Be Learned, Self-Made World, No One Really Knows, Walking with the Rain, One Day, Call, Clemency, and the big piece.
What's interesting, I want to comment on this about is that there's a nice eclectic mix of song lengths in most recent Yes style ever since Going for the One came out. You've got everything from 2 minutes and change to 15 and a half minutes. And that's not the only long piece either. There's another one that's over 9 minutes. Well, we'll call it 10. It's a few seconds shy, 6.5 minutes, a 2 2-minute and 10-second pieces, a 3-minute 14, and a 5:50. There's some neat stuff there where it's not all a bunch of shorties and it's not all a bunch of longies, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's very fitting that the big piece, the title track, is a big piece.
It is. Like, it's the longest one.
Yeah, like 15 minutes, I think.
15 and a half, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you want to tackle this album, Dad? I have my notes down for these tracks, but did you want to start? Or
Yeah. So let's see. You were this came out in 99, right?
Yeah, like, were you aware of it at the time, or did it sort of come
I wasn't,
out?
and I was trying to think if you would have been. You were 5. You were very aware of Yes, but
4.5.
4.5, yeah. And I didn't know about this, which really blows my mind considering how great it is. It's really a great album. It could have been put out by anybody, and I would say that. I'm not saying that just because it's Billy, and we love Billy, and we love his music, and everything he does, but this is like, wow, this is great. And honestly, I think this is the best drumming I've ever heard by Jay. This is great.
Oh, nice. Very high praise there.
Yeah, and it's not a bunch of sameness either, and I believe that's one of the reasons I was so impressed by it, because it's one thing to do something great and it all be like that, but this is not all the same stuff and it's all great. When you can look at 2 pieces that are 2 minutes and 10 seconds, one's an instrumental, all the way to the long piece, the 19 minute piece. It's very impressive. I really love it.
15.
And I can't believe that I don't think I knew about it until years later. And the one song that sounded familiar is the first song, Lesson to Be Learned. And somehow I either don't remember the rest of it or I never heard it.
Yeah, I first became aware of this album like maybe 2008, and it was at the time where I was like discovering everything, like looking through, reading up discographies online and being like, oh, I'm gonna own all of these someday, and you know, just that whole thing. So I've listened to this album in full at least a couple times before this more recent listen, and like once I listened to it again recently, it's like it all came floating back. You know, the opening track was "Some Things Are Worth Waiting For."
Perfect.
And, yeah.
That's a good point. And what do you think of it? Your first impressions?
Yeah, I love it. It's like, you can definitely hear some of Billy's influences, I think.
On the other Yes stuff.
Well, I guess both ways, like his influence on Yes stuff, but also other bands that have influenced him.
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
Yeah, like I have in my notes that Self-Made World kind of feels like Pink Floyd to me a bit. But the guitar also feels very Solly's Beard, so kind of Trevor Rabin.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I noticed that.
You caught on that too.
Yeah, totally. Not just the playing, but the actual sound of the guitar.
Yeah, and No One Really Knows felt somewhat Genesis-like to me.
Yeah.
Just the twists and turns.
So let me ask you this. How about Call? Because I made a note. You see my little note. What, did that remind you of anything?
Yeah, Call reminded me of 2 things. It reminded me of Pink Floyd because, you know, there's on the wall, there's a whole phone call thing. But it also made me think of Fortune Seller, that whole
Oh, I
thing of,
love that song.
yeah, modern technology and the 1-800. Like, it kind of
Yeah.
brought my mind to that.
I thought that he sounds a lot like Peter Gabriel on that song. And
Oh,
even
yeah.
some of the machinic movements of the music, if you will.
Yeah, and his brother Michael sounded very much like Peter Gabriel on the albums he worked on as
Yeah.
well that I've listened to. So
Yep. Absolutely.
yeah, so these both these brothers were very blessed with like these very great voices.
Well, on that note, when I heard this album, recently, I've been listening to it the last few days. I have to say that now more than ever, I fully understand why Chris told Billy for a long time, "You're going to be the new Yes singer." And it's not because he sounds like John Anderson, but it's because his voice sounds so brilliant on this. And I could see like, okay, if you're going to get a new singer and they don't have to sound anything like John or a lot like John even, this is just a great voice and it's in the higher register. It's not the falsetto and that's okay. But I totally I got it. I got it. It's not just the musicianship, but he really is a great vocalist. I really encourage people to pull this out and listen to it. It's great.
Right, because I think I don't remember if we've talked about this on recording, but I remember reading somewhere that like, and yes, whenever they find someone to fill in for someone who's left, they try to go with someone who's not the exact same. And I definitely feel that with the keyboard position.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But with a singer position, it does feel less like that because, with Benoit and John Davison, they got people who were in like somewhat similar register. But Trevor Horn was kind of different, and Billy Sherwood would have been even more different. So.
Yeah, but yet you still have that higher voice that could do the other material and it still sound yes-ish rather than like we've heard John Wetton, the great late John Wetton, sing Roundabout, and it actually sounds really good in his register, but I don't see him singing Close to the Edge or On You and I or some of the other songs, Going for the One, Wondrous Story. I don't see that, whereas I could hear Billy doing that. Not sounding like John, but his voice working for those songs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it's been forever since we've listened to this, but on the tribute album Tales from Yesterday, he sang Wondrous Stories, and we were both like, oh, this is kind of weird, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just looking through the notes again. So I have more notes, like kind of song by song on my end, if I can run through them real quick.
Absolutely. Then we'll hit the other ones.
Yeah, so on Walking with the Rain, it's very guitar heavy and intense, kind of like that Guns N' Roses, very rock, kind of maybe stadium rock, it might be the right word or something like that. One Day is it's a short song and it's so good that I wish it was longer. That's a huge compliment when there's a short song you wish it was
I love
longer.
songs like that, and I'm aggravated at the same time.
Yeah, but that song also stylistically reminded me of it reminded me of other stuff Billy has worked on, like World Trade and Conspiracy. Maybe the song Love Conquers All, which was almost made for Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and Clemency is another short one. You got beautiful keys in the first minute, and then the second minute feels like a separate song altogether, very mellow guitar.
That to me reminded me of Kitaro a bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. And so for me, the biggest earworms, like the ones that sort of pop in my head throughout the day when I'm not trying to, are Lesson to Be Learned and the title track, The Big Piece.
Same here. Those are my two favorite tracks. And it's not just because they're longer. They're just really nice pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, like The Big Piece, you got catchy lines like, the future is rolling and like the table is turning, stuff like that. It kind of feels like the beginning of it feels kind of Man in the Moon, but becomes something else. There's some bass toward the end of it that reminded me of A Story of I even, and then I love how the end of the title track has like this very heavenly type of feel, talking about peace. And it's like, on this listen, like this time around, not to get too into it, I was thinking to myself, man, this album came out like 23 years ago, and we still haven't figured out like world peace. Like, what's up, humanity?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a great track. It's very epic, and I feel like if there were any people who, for some people, Open Your Eyes was their introduction to Billy Sherwood, and maybe some of them weren't that into it, but if they listened to The Big Piece afterward, they might have been like, oh, okay, this guy is really good, huh?
Yeah, this album's very good. It really is. Funny thing, when I was listening to The Big Piece, I don't know how this happened, but in another tab, I have YouTube open with Virgil's Yes remixes 2003, which has been a heavy rotation for me. Somehow, during The Big Piece, that other thing started playing, but in the background, and somehow I thought I was hearing parts of some of the other songs from the Big Piece album, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. He's reprising some of the other, and then I went, wait a minute, something's not right. And I saw that it was playing in the background, and I was like, okay, this isn't what I thought. I had to start the song over from the beginning.
Yeah, just real quick, over on the Drum Talk TV stream, because we're simulcasting, Greg Diener says, love watching you two. So much Yes knowledge and well prepared and natural. Yesshift is brilliant, you guys.
Oh, thank you very much. So we both have knowledge, but Stephen is 100% of the prep. He's definitely the executive producer of all this.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. No, I always tell you how much I appreciate how much you put into this.
Yeah, for sure. So what are your thoughts on the cover? Because there are like a couple different versions of the cover. There's the original version.
There's the original. Well, there's three. There's this original one I have here.
Right.
And then
you can kind of see silhouettes of trees if you look closely.
Right. And here's the one with the trees very clearly.
Yeah, that's from the 2016 reissue from Cherry Red Records. And I saw that Mitchie, Billy's wife at the time, like worked on the art. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and then there's a third version, which I don't have here, but you might be able to see it here. Steve, why don't you tell them about this version right here?
Oh yeah. So
I should have saved the picture and brought it up. What a dum-dum.
Yeah, so while brushing up for The Big Piece, we noticed that on streaming sites like Amazon and YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that, the cover image is Bill Bruford's Earthworks, The Sound of Surprise.
It's like, what?
Yeah, and we still don't know like how that happened. Like, I don't know if it was like an intern uploaded the wrong image, or if maybe it's a computer thing, like an AI generated thing.
But
like,
how does someone
know.
Eventually not catch it? Billy didn't even know about it until Steven told him.
Right. It's like someone got their bills mixed up. like they've both been in Yes, but the genres of these things are totally different.
They couldn't be more different.
Yeah, I listened to The Sound of Surprise after The Big Piece a couple of days ago, and it's a very mellow album, very jazzy, and it's great. But it's so different from The Big Piece. It's like, how do you like get these mixed up?
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
It's crazy. But yeah, the first album cover is I'm surprised how simplistic it is, but maybe that was the intended approach. And then the reissue's great.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the reissue one. And
yeah,
I saw on Cherry Red Records, like last I checked, there's some stuff discounted there. Like, I guess they're doing a sale. They have like a bunch of Yes related or Yes member related stuff, so that's cool. I saw there's even like some box set called Climb Aboard My Roundabout, and it has like a song by The Sin and by Tomorrow, and it's just a large collection of toy pop songs from like the late 60s to the mid 70s. So I think that's pretty interesting.
That is neat. And folks, if you've heard this album, chime in, give us your thoughts. I really dig it. So we always talk about this with solo albums. How do you think working with Yes shaped what we're hearing on here, and vice versa?
I think this might be like the toughest one for me because I don't really know if working with Yes influenced him on this as it was like just being influenced by listening to their music growing up,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, do you have an answer? Or?
I hear it the other way around. I think he had, this might sound crazy to some people, and I'm okay with that. I think he had a bigger influence on their music that he was a part of more than I hear their music in his. And
oh, well, I do agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not happy with Open Your Eyes or So with the Ladder, you've got to hear this. It's not the same old thing as those. And I love both albums. I tremendously love The Ladder. I love Open Your Eyes. I love pretty much every song on that a lot, some more than others. Steve had mentioned Fortune Seller. That's my favorite song on there. I love the song Open Your Eyes. I love Chris's prominence of his vocal in that. I really like the album. This will blow your minds if you have a certain picture of Open Your Eyes as Billy Sherwood and The Ladder. It's not like that. You'll hear where his input came from if you listen to this album. And again, I think it's Jay Shellen's best drumming I've ever heard. It's great.
Yeah, and we're going to do a 25th anniversary Open Your Eyes episode on the 22nd.
I really hope people tune in for that and give a shit, because some people are so down on that, and it's just, it's a really good album.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that, but so that brings me to my next question. So does the big piece sound more like Open Your Eyes or The Ladder to you?
I think it's way much more the latter, but more. I'm trying to temper my words and not use over hyperbole, but it's almost more complex in some ways and stretched in a few different directions.
Okay.
I hear Billy's influence on Open Your Eyes, but this sounds nothing like Open Your Eyes to me other than what you pointed out.
That's weird because I think the opposite. It sounds...
Really?
Yeah, it sounds very Open Your Eyes to me. Like, I feel like...
Oh, wow.
Like, to me, like, from all the Billy stuff I've listened to, I feel like he has, like, his own... He has a consistent sound, and, some of that sound he may have carried over from World Trade and into his other projects.
Yeah, like you hear it on Man in the Moon, and you hear it on the
like
other
I feel
song.
it. I feel it more so on Open Your Eyes and the big piece than on The Ladder. So, but I have heard someone else say that this sounds like The Ladder in places, which kind of surprised me after like this listen. I was like, I'm not sure if I like hear the similarities, but
interesting.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to chime in? Are we the only two people that have heard the album other than Billy and Michi? Or
well, I saw that Steve Second Sight Music said, my first Sherwood solo album, and I loved it. Definitely due for a re-listen.
Nice. Give it a re-listen. Yeah. It might even sound better after not hearing it. And here's the other thing I like about it. Just like The Ladder, and not to say Open Your Eyes, but more so The Ladder, is that all these years forward, it sounds like it could have come out right now and it'd be worthy. It doesn't sound dated whatsoever. And I love that isn't that, a lot of Yes music is like that. Now, some of it sounds dated in a way because we know their chronological lineage of music, but all of it could have come out now, especially Close to the Edge. Tales from Topographic Oceans, Relayer could have come out now and be way ahead of its time. But what I mean is that this album doesn't sound 10 years old.
Right. And so just comparing it against the entire Yes catalog and not just these two albums, it's sort of wedged between. how yes would you like? What percent yes would you say the big piece is?
That's, yeah, we always talk about that. And I'd say I'm going to go beyond how it sonically sounds. And I'm going to go to musical composition and musicianship and that whole
Okay.
package. I'd say it's a good 35 to 50-ish percent. And I consider that heavy from someone who, is mostly known for being in Yes on the first two albums he was on.
Right.
Does that make any sense? I think just the eclectic, the time signature changes and all these different shifts in the longer songs, that's very Yes. It doesn't sound like Yes, but it's very Yes. And they could have been Yes songs with him on it. They're that much Yes-ish. So maybe even more than that, maybe 62%.
Okay, yeah, I guess composition wise, yeah, I might go like around that. In terms of sonic wise, though, I think for me it's like maybe 5%, like just because I don't really, if I'm thinking of like the entire Yes catalog, I'm not consciously thinking of time and a word or magnification or drama while listening to just taking everything into account.
That's true, yeah.
Well, like I've mentioned, like these other things that this album reminds me of, and it still reminds us of other great things. But yeah, that's sort of where I stand, like sonically, at least.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you already mention your favorite tracks on this?
Yeah, it's the title track, which is the last track. It's the first track, Lessons Learned. Those are my favorites, and I do like Call, where he sounds a lot like Peter Gabriel, and the music sounds a bit Gabriel-esque from parts of his catalog. So I like that song a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And I like, guys, the instrumental Clemency. That is so different from the rest of the album, yet the sounds of it fit in. The keyboard sounds and stuff fit in with the album, but the piece is different from anything else on there.
Yeah, and it kind of follows that tradition of like the calm before the storm, like the epic.
Yeah. I will say this though. I'm glad he didn't do a Holy Lamb or a
I knew you were going to bring that.
Yeah, or on Magnification, help me.
Time is Time.
Time is Time. Yeah, that he didn't make that last song that song. I have to say, I love Holy Lamb and I love Time is Time, but as last songs, it's like all this stuff and then it floats down way too hard. I'd rather be left just like, I don't know. That's just me. So good job on I love the song order works too. Like I don't have any, sometimes we talk about that, right? Where what would you have done different with the song order? And sometimes we have some pretty different changes. This one I think is fine just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. It flows very well. It's eclectic, but feels natural the way it is. And it's just, it takes you for a nice ride. I quite enjoy the big piece.
Yeah. Can we go back to the Prog Collective so I can show that awesome album cover?
Yeah, so this is kind of our What's Billy Up To Now segment. So like we mentioned, Seeking Peace came out today, and you can go ahead and show that.
It looks so cool. You know what? I'm going to make it larger because it's so worthy. He'll cover me up with it.
Yeah, look at that. Nothing says prog like mushrooms, right?
That's right. Illuminated mushrooms. That's a good one. Growing on a vine or a branch, no less. Yeah, it's a twisted branch of a tree. Do you know who did the album cover, Steve?
I'll see if I can find that out.
I love this. Chime in, folks. What do you think of that? It's almost colored like Freya Dean stuff that we saw at the exhibit, right?
Oh,
with the pastel
totally
and the gradients from one hue to another. I'd be shocked if she did it, but it wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah, and there's also like a purple marble record vinyl.
Oh
I may have botched the words there, but yeah, like there's lots of purple with these, and it just looks so good.
Check this out. That is so cool.
Yeah, and this is available at Cleopatra Records and also at the progcollective.bandcamp.com. I'll go ahead and drop the link.
So does this come as a package? Is that also a CD that I see on the front, or it's a simulation only? It's probably the album, and they say simulation because the color's off a little bit. But that'd be cool if it came as a package, LP and CD with it.
Yeah, I'm like scrambling to like look for the info.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if they're only releasing it on vinyl. If that's going to start happening, we all got to go out and get record players again. You and I keep talking about that. We got to just do that.
Yeah, because I know it's available as a digital album and as this limited edition 12-inch LP.
I love that. I think that looks awesome.
Yeah. I don't see anything about a CD, so yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess maybe vinyl is winning after all.
Maybe. I love the artwork aspect of it, that you're not using one of these.
Yeah, magnifying
to
glass.
Look at it. Yeah, that's one of the biggest.
Magnification.
Exactly. That's one of the biggest bummers when everything started to go to CD. It's like, all this magnificent artwork is now shrunken down to this little thing, you know? It was one thing with cassettes, but we still had vinyl then. See, that's what's different. Whereas when everything went to CD, we lost all that stuff with newer stuff coming out. It only came out as CD.
Right. But with this Prog Collective album, Seeking Peace, what's interesting is, once again, there are a few Yes members guesting. So, of course, Billy plays on In an Instant, but I think he also sings backing vocals on a couple of these other tracks. I was able to give this whole thing a listen, and I feel like I hear him on other tracks as well. And of course, you know, Billy like worked on a lot of this. Patrick Moraz was on the title track, Seeking Peace. Jeff Downs is in All Is Meant to Be. And John Davison is on A Matter of Time.
And there's some other great musicians on here. Jordan Rudess, Chester Thompson, James Labrie, Steve Stevens, Frank DiMino, David Sanchez, Steve Morse. Here, and there's a Steve Hillage, but Graham Bonnet.
So many Steves.
Yeah, and Graham Bonnet is on it too. Just what a great lineup. Now, isn't Billy the producer of the Prog Collective stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So great stuff. And then
and this album is so proggy, and some of it sounds like stadium rock. Like, folks, you got to listen to this. It's so good.
I'm gonna give it a listen tonight. Arc of Life is coming out. New album, Don't Look Down, coming on November 18th, at least in the US.
Yeah, so that's another thing Billy's up to, and we'll be talking about both Arc of Life albums in early December, I think. Because you know, our schedule's hectic. So yeah, it'll be interesting comparing and contrasting the two albums. And of course, Billy's touring with Yes. Obviously, they're almost done with this US tour. I think I saw someone say they're in Indiana right now. And he's touring with Asia in 2023. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I love how active Billy is on social media. You know, I saw a clip that or a reel that he shared where he's like playing golf and
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and I think also like a behind the scenes thing where they're doing Andy and Andy get like a
through the curtain.
Yeah, through the curtain.
Yeah, that was cool, from behind him at an angle. That was cool. I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also like recently posted a few songs from like some of his influences. I'll see if I can like put those in the show notes later on. But yeah, I just think it's cool how, you know, he's still busy, he's still working, and he's also like willing to share all that stuff on social media.
Yeah. How would you rate this as far as the album songs and everything connecting to your sensibilities, musical sensibilities?
Well, this album is a real banger. Like it's just so great to listen to. Puts me in a good mood. It's like, you know, if you're just walking somewhere, it livens up the walk by a lot. There's so much work put into it, and
took me by surprise a bit. The first song, is a great opening song, which is always important.
Right.
And then it just keeps going from there, and it ends with this almost 20-minute epic that is the title track, and the big piece is the big piece, like Steve said earlier. I love it. I think it's a great album, and I'm now it's on my heavy rotation. Here are three things. This will be the third. The Chromatics first three albums, Steve turned me on to the Chromatics. I love that stuff. It's great music to work by, and I just really love Virgil Howe's, the late great Virgil Howe's Yes remixes, 2003. It is so freaking off the wall. I keep imagining him laughing while he's working on it. Oh, wait till they hear what I did with this, because, and it's a brilliance in engineering. It's brilliance in the music he added and reshaped from what they had. It's really amazing. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of great stuff, and this podcast has given us a chance to discover all this stuff and put it in our rotations, which is great.
Yeah, and I won't give them up yet, but we are working on securing a couple new interviews. Can't wait to tell you about those. One is Yes family related that some of you may have heard of. It's a female. See if anyone can guess what that is. Who did some work with a member. And we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, hopefully schedules align. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're planning our end of year show soon. And we've put out 76. This will be episode 76, like Steve said. But we've also done like 24 news episodes, and we got a few more things left for the year. So we're going to end up with closing the year after only about a year and a half of doing this with probably about 105 or 10 episodes, something like that. So if you're not familiar with all that, if you're listening to us on our podcast on anchor.fm/Yesshift, dig into the library. And if you watch us on Facebook or YouTube, just dig into the videos library. There's so much stuff, and you might be surprised who we've had on. We've had Steve Howe. We've had Steve Hackett. We've had Oliver Wakeman. We've had Billy Sherwood. We've had, in fact, if I may, I usually don't do this, but I want to boast a little bit. More than one person, I think, complimented us on Billy's interview, saying it's the best interview of any Yes member they've ever seen. That made me feel so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had...
Yeah, because sometimes, there are moments when I look back and I think, I kind of wish I'd done this differently. And, maybe some people think the same, but whenever people say this is such a great interview, or this is the best interview, that's just so gratifying to hear, and it makes me feel all better,
Yeah, we do this as a passion project. There is a donate button on the Anchor page,
right.
But this is a passion project. Steve and I are so busy. We work together with both my other companies, Drum Talk TV, going through huge expansion right now. And I'll announce right here, planning our 10-year anniversary show. That's going to be an in-person live show, streamed live. And I also have a marketing company that Steve is part of, a marketing training and agency company. So we're pretty busy people, yet this music means so much to us that we just wanted to do this because we just love talking about it. And we thought, why not make it like we're talking about it with other fellow Yes fans and let them chime in. So that's why we do it. And we started this July of last year. I can't believe how much we've done and how much time's gone by. But yeah, look through and see who's been guests, and it's been fun.
Yeah, and there's always lots of news to talk about, but we'll get to some of that on a later episode in a few weeks. But for now, I just want to say real quick, I saw on Patrick Moraes' Facebook page, apparently he's taking part in a benefit concert for related to the Hurricane Ian stuff. So I think that's happening on the 13th. So people can go to his page and look up the details on that. I figure there's lots of other news that's kind of evergreen, but I figure I'd just throw that in there since it's coming up.
Yeah, that's soon. Good. That's important too.
Right. Yeah.
We'll be featuring some clips by the band Awaken, the Yes tribute that they are streaming and doing for a benefit coming up for a children's hospital. So look forward to that, since we're on the topic of charities and helping out, and the holiday season is typically the season where people kind of loosen up their purse strings and wallets a little bit and donate money for good causes. So I'm happy that there's some Yes related stuff and extended family stuff like that.
Yeah. And the next episode we'll be doing is the Open Your Eyes episode on the 22nd. So a little bit of a break because of our schedules. I'm still working on the Roger and Freya video. I haven't forgotten about it. It's just a lot to focus on.
Been moving and, there's all that.
Yeah.
But so, hey, in between these breaks, folks, I just want to tell them, Steve, in between these breaks, watch some other episodes. Get caught up. For some people, this might be your first episode. You've only known about us for a couple months. If you're a really hardcore Yes, there's plenty of fun stuff that even goes a bit outside of the actual band Yes, like having Steve Hackett on, stuff like that. And it's been some really fun guests. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them and Oliver.
All right. So do you have anything else before we close out?
No, I'm good. I think we covered everything.
Okay, yeah. So thanks everyone for joining us. Keep following us on all our platforms, and we'll see you real soon.
Yeah, and let's remind them that they could send us ideas. You can email us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. And again, follow us on YouTube. Just look up Yesshift on anchor.fm, which distributes to 8 of the top podcasting platforms. It's anchor.fm/Yesshift. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Yesshift, believe it or not. Used to be /something else. We had a different name for the first episode.
Yeah.
All right. Good to go. Thanks, everybody, so much.
Thanks.